Hello, fellow scanners and deep-thinking introverts. Let's start with a moment of radical, slightly uncomfortable honesty. Have you ever walked into a room to get something, perhaps a glass of water or your car keys, and halfway there your phone buzzed? You pulled it out just for a second to check a notification. Fast forward 45 minutes, you are sitting on the edge of your bed, your legs have gone numb, you've somehow ended up watching a video on how to restore 18th century Japanese woodworking tools, and you have absolutely no idea why you stood up in the first place. You aren't thirsty anymore, you're just confused and vaguely ashamed. If this sounds familiar, I have a message for you as a mind decoder. You aren't weak-willed, you aren't lazy, and you certainly aren't undisciplined. What you are is a biological organism whose ancient survival mechanisms have been successfully hijacked by some of the smartest software engineers on the planet. In our previous conversations, we talked about the M-shaped career and the scanner's dilemma, that beautiful, chaotic urge to do everything at once. But today, we need to address the primary obstacle that stands between your multifaceted potential and actual execution, the rectangular slot machine currently living in your pocket. For the introvert, the phone is a sanctuary. It's a way to engage with the world without the exhausting tax of small talk. For the multitasker, it's a candy store of endless stimulation. But there is a hidden cognitive tax that we are paying every single day, and it is fracturing the very thing we need most, our selective attention. To understand why your phone is so hard to put down, we have to look at the neuroscience of the Ventral Striatum, the brain's reward center. For decades, we've been told that dopamine is the chemical of pleasure. We think we scroll because we enjoy it, but neuropsychology tells a much darker, more interesting story. Dopamine is not the chemical of pleasure, it is the chemical of anticipation. It is the molecule of seeking. Back in the 1950s, the psychologist B.F. Skinner discovered a principle called intermittent reinforcement. He found that if you give a pigeon a food pellet every time it pecks a button, the pigeon stays calm. It pecks when it's hungry and stops when it's full. But if you make the reward random, if the pigeon only gets a pellet sometimes, the pigeon becomes obsessed. It will peck that button until its beak is sore, driven by the agonizing maybe of the next peck. Modern apps are built on this exact Skinnerian logic. Every time you see that little red notification badge or hear a ping, your brain doesn't get a reward. It gets a dopamine spike. This spike is triggered by the uncertainty. Is it a like from my crush? Is it a work emergency? Is it a funny cat video? Your brain is hardwired to resolve that uncertainty. Evolutionarily, ignoring a potential signal in the environment was a good way to get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. Today, that same survival instinct is being used to make you check your Instagram for the 14th time before breakfast. You are effectively a pigeon in a high-tech lab, pecking at a glass screen, driven by the ventral striatum to seek a reward that rarely satisfies. For those of us who identify as scanners or multitaskers, this is particularly lethal. Because our brains are naturally tuned to seek out new information and far transfer connections, we are hyper-vulnerable to these erratic dopamine spikes. We think we are researching or staying informed, but neurologically, we're just stuck in a seeking loop. This leads us to the true cognitive cost, the fracturing of our selective attention. Neuropsychologically, our brains possess two distinct systems for paying attention. First, there is bottom-up attention, reflexive. This is our ancient, primitive attention. It is triggered by bright colors, loud noises, and movement. It's what makes you look up when a glass breaks or when a bright red notification flashes on your screen. It is effortless, and it is designed to keep you alive in the wild. Second, there is top-down attention, intentional. This is the executive attention located in your prefrontal cortex. This is the ability to focus on a complex book, to write a deep project, or to enter a flow state. This is the focus we need to build our M-shaped lives. The problem is that top-down attention is like a fragile glass sculpture, while bottom-up attention is like a sledgehammer. Every time your phone vibrates, that sledgehammer swings. Even if you don't pick the phone up, your brain has to expend a massive amount of inhibitory energy just to ignore the stimulus. Research has shown that simply having your phone visible on your desk, even if it is turned off and face down, occupies a portion of your cognitive capacity. A part of your brain is literally staying alert for the phone, leaving less RAM available for the work you actually care about. You aren't just distracted, your brain is physically being prevented from reaching its full processing power. You feel tired at the end of the day, not because you worked hard, but because your prefrontal cortex spent 8 hours in a losing battle against a digital slot machine. But biology isn't destiny. We don't need to move to a cabin in the woods and throw our devices into a lake. We just need to understand the neuropsychological architecture of the hijack and re-engineer the environment. So, we've established that your phone is a master manipulator, a pocket-sized casino that knows exactly which ancient survival buttons to press. Now, as your resident mind decoder, I'm going to give you the blueprints for the counterinsurgency. We are moving from being the pigeon pecking at the glass to being the neuropsychological engineer. We aren't going to rely on willpower because, as we've seen, your prefrontal cortex is already exhausted. Instead, we are going to use choice architecture to make focus the path of least resistance. Step 1. The Grayscale Gambit, reducing visual salience. The first thing you must do is enter the boring zone. Go into your settings and turn your phone to grayscale. Why? Because your visual cortex is disproportionately attracted to high-contrast, saturated colors. In the wild, a bright red fruit or a neon-colored insect was a signal of high importance. App designers use this visual salience to grab your bottom-up attention. That little red notification badge isn't just a color, it's a neurological shout. When you turn your phone to grayscale, you are effectively muting the slot machine. Suddenly, Instagram isn't a vibrant world of adventure, it's a dull gray newspaper. Without the color, the ventral striatum doesn't get that same anticipation spike. You'll find yourself looking at the screen and thinking, actually, I'm bored, and putting it down. That is the sound of your top-down attention winning. Step 2. Killing the variable rewards. The notification audit. Next, we need to dismantle the maybe. Remember, the ping is the parasite. You need to disable all non-human notifications. If an algorithm sent it, a suggested post, or a sale ending soon, or someone you might know joined the app, it is a tactical strike against your focus. By doing this, you kill the variable reward loop. You move from a state of reactive seeking to intentional checking. You decide when to engage with the digital world, rather than letting a server in Silicon Valley decide when to interrupt your deep thinking. Step 3. Home screen architecture. The friction principle. As a scanner, your brain is naturally attracted to the new. Therefore, your home screen is a minefield of temptation. We are going to apply the principle of friction. Any app that you find yourself scrolling mindlessly, the dopamine heavyweights, must be moved off the home screen. Put them in a folder on the last page inside another folder. Better yet, delete the app and only access it via the browser. By adding just 3 extra seconds of work to open an app, you move the behavior from the basal ganglia, the autopilot, back to the prefrontal cortex. That 3-second delay is often enough for your executive brain to wake up and ask, wait, do I actually want to do this? You are creating a speed bump for your impulses. On your main home screen, only keep the tool apps, the ones that help you achieve your M-shaped goals. Maps, calendar, notes, and perhaps a deep reading app. This turns your phone back into a Swiss Army knife rather than a distraction engine. Step 4. The out-of-sight protocol. Reclaiming cognitive capacity. As we mentioned, research from the University of Texas has shown that the mere presence of a smartphone reduces available cognitive capacity. This is known as brain drain. Even if you aren't looking at it, your brain is performing a background task of not looking at it. When you are doing your deep work, whether you are weaving data into a narrative or learning that new language, the phone must be in another room. Not in your pocket, not face down on the desk, in another room. The physical distance creates a psychological distance. When the phone is out of sight, your prefrontal cortex can finally release its inhibitory hold and reallocate that processing power to the task at hand. You will find that you can think more deeply, connect ideas more broadly, and finally find that flow state that has been so elusive. The conclusion: biology isn't destiny. Let's wrap this up. You aren't bad at focusing. You are simply living in an environment that is expertly engineered to exploit your biological vulnerabilities. But once you understand the dopamine loop, the hijack loses its power. For the introverted multitasker, focus is the currency of our dreams. We have too many interests and too much potential to let it be harvested by a social media algorithm. By engineering your phone, you aren't detoxing in some vague spiritual sense. You are performing a neuropsychological reset. You are restructuring your digital world to favor your top-down intentions rather than your bottom-up reflexes. Your phone should be a bridge to your goals, not a barrier to your focus. It should be a tool that helps you explore the dozen paths you see for your life, not a tether that keeps you paralyzed on the sofa. The next time your phone pings, I want you to visualize that pigeon in the Skinner box. Then, I want you to smile, keep your head down, and stay focused on the work that actually matters. Because in a world of seekers, the engineers are the ones who actually build the future. I've created a digital engineering checklist, a simple one-page guide to the settings and structures we discussed today, to help you reclaim your focus in under 10 minutes. You can download it at the link below. Re-engineer the device. Reclaim the focus. Decode your mind. I'm the Mind Decoder, and I'll see you in the next one.